think for me, it was a bittersweet understanding that came eventually after lots of conflict and differences of opinion, um, which was that at the end of the day, your life and your Jeevan, and it's just you. So we've got all this conditioning about what marriage is meant to be. Like it's meant to be this thing where you finally find that other half and you come together and then you're complete and then you can finally start living your life. And that's so strong. That is so embedded within everything that we're exposed to growing up, Disney films, romantic comedies, books, Bollywood, everything. And we're even told these things by people around us that have had completely different experiences to that, but this rhetoric continues. And I think that when you actually do get married and it's tough, which as far as we're aware of, pretty much every single couple we know that's got married has struggled. And it's like, if you were to expect that already, it wouldn't be such a shock to the system. If you and then so when we did struggle and you keep struggling and you're like, actually this person isn't going to complete me, you come to that realization. And either at that point there's two paths you can go down, right? Either you just ditch that relationship and you think actually somebody else is going to be better able to complete me. So that's when you separate and then you go for that to that, other person, or you'll spend your life searching for that thing that will complete you. Or with Guru's grace, we had access to the wisdom of Sikhi spirituality, which is that nobody can complete you. And so when you start on that path of looking for self-completion, internal completion, then it lessens the pressure on the other person. Yeah. And then you don't have to wait for somebody else to do anything, because as far as you're concerned, you're on a path, a spiritual path, and that person is there to complement, but not in ways that you might necessarily think they're there to complement. Maybe they're there to teach you something. Maybe the conflict is meant to push you towards deepening your development. And the Shabad in Gurbani, Purab Janam ke mile sanjogi, that the sanjog that you have is from pichle janam, that relationship, that union is already preordained. But Ante kona sahai is the next line that follows it. At the end, nobody's going to be your support. So it's that recognition that, this sanjog is a beautiful thing, but ultimately you're going to leave alone, and you're going to, you're going to have to, whatever karam that you enact is going to lead to whatever outcome based on that. And it helps to take the pressure off a little bit of the other person. Like, you didn't do this, or, there was a time when anything that was going wrong for me, I could just say, oh, Harpreet, it's your fault because you didn't, again, and it's the socks again. And he still doesn't put the socks in the laundry basket. But like, that's okay on days when I'm centered, when I'm not expecting. But there are times when, that can be enough to just like be like, it's your fault. Everything's your fault. The socks, the dishes not being
We're
done.
literally airing our dirty laundry, but we could talk about our arguments. We could have a whole podcast episode on our arguments. But when we used to argue a lot, which we, God's grace, Guru Kripa, we don't argue very much anymore. That's taken a long time to get to that point, and it's down to you. But
to me that it's taken a long to get.
No, it's down to you that we don't argue anymore because you're so patient. But there were times when we would get to the end of an argument like 3 days later, and then we'd think, why were we annoyed again? What was the argument about? And it's crazy how the bunch can cause so much conflict where you think, oh, actually, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. Oh, I hate this person, or it's all this person's fault, or I was better off by myself. When it's over, you don't even remember what it's over. Like nothing crazy has happened, but the bunch will still find some way to separate you.
And when you're talking about the bunch, you meaning?
Kaam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar, which English translation is?
Lust, anger, Lobh is greed, Moh attachment, Hankar is ego.
And in Gurbani it says, not that I know much Gurbani, you guys please correct me, but is dehi mein panch chor vase, kaam, krodh, lobh, moh, hankara, amrit lutte, man mukh nahi bujhe, koi na sune pukara. And
so within the body is dehi andar. Dehi is body, panch chor vase, the panch chor reside, these 5 chor. Kaam, krodh, lobh, moh, hankar, Amrit lute, man mukh nahi bujhe. Like they steal your amrit. You could see that as your internal peace, or you could see that as the ambrosial nectar that we all have within us, that we experience when we connect to the One. Amrit lute, man mukh nahi bujhe. Koi na sune pukara. The manmukh doesn't understand what's going on, doesn't understand that game, that it's actually the Panch Jor that are creating this, staging this drama, creating this conflict. Koi na sune pukara, and nobody hears the cries of the manmukh. And so when we start to have the awareness, I think that Shabad saved our marriage as well, because it's like you start to realize that this is not you fighting your husband. This is a bigger game going on, which is the Panch Jor are fighting each other. Keh Kabir Panche ka chagda. The chagda, the conflict is between the Panch. Jagrat Janam Gavaya. And I saw that very clearly in our marriage, that year after year after year, we'd still be fighting. So you spend your whole life, like we spend little time with each other. We were working full time. You see each other for a few hours in the morning.
Sleep 8 hours.
Yeah, you see each other a few hours in the evening. Yet the Panch Jor are so strong, and the mind is so weak that you can spend your whole lives year after year after year engaged in the same conflict, in the same distress, in the same dukh. And so when you start to understand and you see, so we're in the middle of conflict, and I see Harbir and he's like proper fired up. Now I can either see Harbir is, how dare he respond to me like that, or look at me like that and be angry with me, or I can see right now his Panch Jor are blinding him. They've put a jal over his eyes, his ears. Gal jal jihva ar nani, putting a net over the jihva, the tongue, the nani, the eyes. And he's blinded right now, and whatever's coming out of his mouth is influenced by the Panch. It's not him. His Atma is there, but right now it's not Harbir, it's not my husband, it's not my, Sanjogi. And then if I can have that awareness in that moment, then I can step away.
What do you think, Benji?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think what I'm hearing is almost that detachment from knowing it's not that person that is causing the conflict in our relationship, or it's not necessarily even, for me, it would always be, I'm not good enough, or it's my anger, or it's my problem. But it's just almost disidentifying from that part of you, because Maharaj is telling us we're Jyotsvarup, that we're the divine light of Vaheguru, and that's our true nature. But actually there's this game at hand almost, that there's these 5 thieves, as Maharaj calls them, that causes conflict within us and within our relationships, and just identifying that actually there's something beyond that, if we're all part of the Ik Onkar, we're all part of that oneness, and we can identify what's working against us, then we can work. And for me, it's always about solutions. So then we can identify where the problem is. And if we know what the problem is, we can work on the solution. So, that's great to hear, that there's hope, that even if, you feel like it's the last resort, that you're really not getting on, or you've been going at this for years, maybe taking this different perspective that actually, something is rising up within you and rising up within that person, but that's not who you actually are. It's also reassuring to, again, not in that way, but it's reassuring to hear that, it's something that you work on. It's not something that you see in Bollywood or you see in Disney. That actually, for me, if you're asking me personally, the way that I see life at the moment is that everything that's happening on the outside is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So if you're in conflict with your partner, with your family member, with anybody, your colleagues at work, it's actually a reflection of something that's triggering within you. There's some sort of belief that you're holding within yourself.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the full podcast on our second channel, BOS TV.
And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Let's get it to 10K subs.